Welcome to the Life of KG, your ultimate destination for all things motivation and business insights. Join me, Katie Godfrey, serial entrepreneur and the brains behind the KG brand. Along the way, we'll welcome inspiring guests and share invaluable business tips to fuel your growth journey. Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. With that said, let's dive into the world of success together. I get asked all the time, Kate, how can you help me? Now, I have everything from masterminds, online programs, events, retreats, literally anything you need, I've most probably got. And the reason for doing this is because when I started, I just wish I had some help. I just needed a guiding hand. Sometimes I just wanted to watch an online course for half an hour, or I wanted to actually have one-to-one coaching, or then I went on to join in a mastermind. And I wanted to know that I could help you at whatever stage you're at, whatever level you're at, that I've got something that's suited for you. So if you are interested in working together, drop me a message and let's see what we can do. Click below in the show notes to go and grab the link. Hey everyone, welcome back to A Life of KG. Today is absolutely hilarious because my mum's on the show. That's so funny. I was literally saying just before that my mum doesn't really like cameras, do you? You actually hate it. I don't. So we never get selfies, we never get photos. I've maybe got 5 photos my whole older life. Oh. And I said about coming on the podcast and she was well up for it. So I was like, okay, let's do this, because it was Amy's idea to get the OG on.
So I call you the OG.
You do.
Why is that?
I don't know. You tell me.
Because you're KG too.
I am.
So you're the original KG.
I am.
Did you mean to do that when I was bored? When I was born?
Did you?
I actually didn't.
That it's not intentional?
No.
Have you ever thought about it?
No.
That you're both KG?
No.
That's so funny, isn't it?
And that your whole brand is KG, but she's the original?
And that's her fault.
What?
That the brand is KG.
Is it?
Yeah.
How come?
Because she didn't know what to call her company back in the day. Was in the house, I was in the living room. What shall I call it? Actually, it's really funny because when she wanted to open the company...
she's the modelling or the salon?
The modelling.
Yeah.
She was in the office upstairs and she could do the registering by post, but she was impatient. So she wanted to do it online and get it the next day and pay for the next day courier and stuff. So before that, she was asking what to call it, and I said KG Model Management, and it stuck. But the funny thing is, I was like, yeah, Kate, yeah, and all that. Shouts down the stairs, Mum, I can't do it unless I've got a secretary. Will you be my secretary? Yeah, Kate, and all that. Anyway, a few weeks later, and it wasn't long later, I just let her do her thing. She goes, Mum, I've got my first contract. Oh, shit, I better be serious now.
You've got to be that secretary.
Have you got insurance? Have you got? And the mum thing kicked in, thinking, oh my God, this is for real now. Have you got insurance? Have you got this? Have you got that? Yeah, Mum.
And how old was she then?
18.
So how did you know so much about it? About business and setting up a business. How did you know so much?
I think
you haven't had a business then, though. Obviously, Dad, but
I don't actually know. I think you learn on the job, don't you? And I know that you have to have insurance. You have to have this. Yeah. That. Didn't know much about companies. Yeah. But I had started. Had I? No, I hadn't. No, I don't know. I don't know. It just, if you want something bad enough, you find out. Yeah. And you just make it happen.
So had you set up your charity then?
Around about a year before Katie opened the salon.
So that was after the model management company?
Yeah, a few years.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I am fascinated by this.
Which bit?
The charity that you set up.
Oh, right.
Because I am fascinated. I loved hearing about it, and I still think there's so many more layers to it. So I find your charity that you set up fascinating. I found that whole story fascinating. And then when I said to Kate about doing this, I was like, I just think everyone should know about the OG and where it all started.
What, the charity?
Yeah, I don't think people will know the connection between your charity and how Kate started coaching as well.
In what way?
The name of it. So,
Coffee, cake and chat.
so you had Stepping Stones, but then you created Coffee, Cake and Chat, didn't you?
Yeah, Coffee, Cake and Chat. Coffee, Cake and Chat was... It's really complicated because the charity is called Stepping Stones.
So let's go back to that, right?
Right.
Stepping Stones. First of all, why did you set up Stepping Stones and what did it do?
So basically, I was working in a drug agency that supported men and women.
Yeah.
Loved my job. But not many people know this. I break hips really easily.
Break hips?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So
Literally.
I broke my hip at
your
43.
hips. Right. Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, I broke my hip, and that's when I stopped working for the charity and had a reflection on where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
But while working at the charity, it was predominantly men.
And this is men and women, but with a drug addiction.
It was a drug agency.
Right. What does that mean?
So people with drug issues of whatever type and whatever class.
Okay.
So I worked for them, and I was a group worker.
Right.
So, and I loved my job.
And what does a group worker do?
So basically, we run set programs for women and men, but it was mainly men, to do group work to help them in their recovery. So I would work alongside. There was always 2 facilitators in the group, and I absolutely loved it. But what I noticed the most was how few women attended.
And why do you think that was?
I think stigma,
Really?
shame, lack of service, lack of the right facility. Men and women take drugs for very different reasons, and so I would have a handful of women, and so I set up a group there, and there was a handful of women. And so when I broke my hip and I decided not to return, I started to look at what I wanted to do, and I knew my passion was women. And so I looked at all the different things that would help a woman access service. So I thought about childcare, about the different types of groups they would need, the kind of one-to-ones, the group work and stuff like that. I'll tell you a funny story. I went to...
She loves a story.
I love a story.
I love a story as well. So,
do you know what? We make sense of our lives by the stories we tell, and that is true. Yeah. And so I went to this place, and I said, I want to start a charity. And they said, you need this, this, and this, and you need trustees, and you just come back when you've got trustees and you've got this, that, and the other. I was like, totally blagged it. I said, yeah, okay, I'll be back soon. But he also, this was a vision that I had. No one was buying into the mad ideas that I had.
So this is a CIS, is it?
CIC.
CIC, okay.
A CIC.
Oh yeah, company, of course.
So I set up a CIC because it's easier.
Oh right, okay.
You just
figured this out along the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you needed to open up a CIC. You could open up pretty much straight away. There wasn't so much jargon, so much charity commission on your case.
Right. Okay.
You could get paid.
Yeah.
And I promised my husband at the time that I would earn again.
Yeah.
And you only needed one other director, so it was easier to get someone else along to buy into my vision.
So isn't that funny that we didn't know about setting up a business when I set up a limited company, and we just kind of figured it out.
Yeah.
You didn't know about setting up a
CIC
interest company,
yeah,
and then figured it out. Whatever you want to do, you can figure it out.
Absolutely. But both of you doing such similar things at such the same time is fascinating as well.
Yeah. So that's how Stepping Stones was created as a CIC.
And then who did you serve? You done it for women?
Women in our community. Yeah, women in our community. And actually, the drug and alcohol world back then might be still the same. And charities compared to companies, for-profit companies, I found the network, the community of interest-free companies or charities in our town quite political. So I didn't want to stand on anyone's toes. So I went to the drug commissioner and I said that I wanted to open up a women's service. In them days, there wasn't any. There was women's aid, but I wanted more than that.
And women's aid is what, fleeing domestic abuse?
Yeah,
right.
And I wanted more than that. I didn't think that covered everything. And I wanted targeted group work because I'm about change. It's not about putting plaster on. And the only time you can do that is if you have really therapeutic interactions that are specifically catered and gender-based.
Yeah.
If it's not gender-based, then you're not looking at the woman as a whole.
So women have very different struggles when it comes to drug as well, because kids as well and other responsibilities.
You just got to look at it. Why weren't it easy for women to go into a service that was catering for men and women? They had women-only afternoons. But what do they do with their children?
Because predominantly they're the caregivers, right?
Yeah, of course. And so where do they take their children? So the Drug and Alcohol Commissioner said, oh, no, Karen, we have agencies that support women. Okay. But we don't have no childcare. Now, in them days, I thought I'd have a babysitting service. Women could go to access services. So I said, okay. And I don't remember how much she gave me a budget for, something like 20 grand. And I opened up the first
So as a CIC, you were given 20 grand from the council
to open up a childcare service. And I opened up an Ofsted registered childcare service, which blows my mind.
Yeah.
No experience of childcare, no experience of Ofsted, no experience of anything. I rang the Luton Council and they told me all the policies. If you think in beauty world, you have to have, or in business world, you have to have a lot of policies and procedures in place. Yeah. Think again when it comes to Ofsted.
Yeah, I
bet.
And to Luton Borough Council. I think, I had something like 53. And every time I created one, I had to Google what these things were. And so the childcare opened first. And once I got my foot in the door and the women started dropping their children off to go and access drug and alcohol services.
So were you providing childcare and the counselling services as well?
And initially, to keep everyone sweet because it's political, I just opened up the childcare service. Once that was up and running, and let me add, from a church, I then started, the buzzword started going around. People wanted to access the services. People would refer to my service and go to other services. So they would drop their children off and then go to access support. And then I decided to do what I really wanted to do, which was offer interventions for women specifically.
Oh, what, sorry?
Interventions for women specifically. Yeah. And I thought, how am I going to do this?
What does that mean, intervention?
Intervention, so one-to-one, counselling, group work, parenting courses. Often it's trauma.
Abuse.
Often it's abuse.
Yeah.
Often it's mental health.
Right.
Often it's all
so
free.
It's like a holistic service.
Very holistic, because I don't like it if I used to get really upset if you didn't understand where the woman was coming from. You would miss the woman, so you had to look after her as a whole. She was a mother. She was a woman. She, very, very differently. And that's how I started, first of all, and Coffee Cake Chat was born, and that was every Friday morning.
This is like one of the favourite things you've ever done as well, isn't it?
Just supporting women is what I just love. And I think linking it in with what Kate does, I think that's why I love the retreat so much. Yeah. And when I said on the last retreat that great things happen when women come together,
I totally agree.
It really does.
You're so much more powerful together.
I was a counsellor before Stepping Stones, and I would go to Bedford and volunteer in a counselling service, and I'd see women in a one-to-one capacity. Now, don't get me wrong, they needed one-to-one, and they needed that secure environment to do one-to-one work because they were very trauma-based services they needed from me. But after a while, I just thought, oh my gosh, if that person just met that person and that person just met that person and they came together, the power of that group would be amazing. And that's why I went then to do group work, because I knew to bring people together. I mean, you can get, I'm going to be off on a tangent here, you can get 10, 20, and I've had 10, 20 women in a group that have all suffered or suffering domestic abuse.
Yeah.
But they're all unique. No one's walked in that other person's shoes, even though they've experienced domestic abuse.
Yeah.
So the power of talking in that group and supporting each other,
it makes them stronger, right?
It's just, they just know they're not on their own.
But then does that make, I mean, that is so powerful in itself, isn't it? But does that make that individual stronger to then flee domestic abuse because they've got this like united, their own kind of village behind them?
I think it can. I think it can do that. I think it's very brave. The women that come into my service, and there were hundreds, because we offered different services, they're the most bravest people I've ever met in my life. And they think they're weak because the perpetrator made them feel that way. But actually they were stronger than they realised. And when they came in, they might have been broken, they might have been hurt, they might still be going through it or were through it. But they blossomed just by getting someone believing them that they weren't crazy, that this was valid, and actually their self-worth were important. That's eroded with domestic abuse. We give it back. So that empowering is
amazing, isn't it?
Is something else. And I'll always really, really, really be passionate about that. And that's why I get a buzz, if you like, and I become this mum figure on retreats, because I see them.
You're so good at it, though. Please.
You are good at it, though. You are really good at it.
You are
but
so
I think
good.
it's only since I've been doing the retreats and events and mastermind that I've realised how linked it is.
Have you ever connected it? Because you, like, when I first met you, you were doing coffee, cake and chat. That must have been a conscious...
Yeah, that was.
Was it like a nod to your mum? Like, what was that?
I don't think so. I think she just liked the name.
I loved the name. I loved the name. I did love the fact that, because I always remember coming into the church and like seeing the coffee, cake and chat and obviously meeting the girls.
Yeah.
Like, I always remembered like them days and the women and stuff that I would meet there. But when, obviously, I was coaching before Coffee, Cake and Chat for me.
Yeah.
So I was doing one-to-one for many years. And then obviously when COVID hit, I wanted to create a group, but there was nothing that resonated more than Coffee, Cake and Chat, most probably because of that. And because
it's just so aligned with everything
you're
doing.
Aligned. And it's like everyone, all the women that I was working with just wanted to come together, have a coffee, have a chat. I don't like coffee. Like, I'm a tea girl. But I was like, I need
tea,
it just doesn't really ring, no. So it just started from that. But I was coaching way before that, but I'd say that was the first time I was doing group.
Yeah. But
And
then you love that group coaching, you love hot seats, you love all of that, which is so aligned with everything that your mum's
with
done.
The mastermind, it's just all one.
I love group work.
Why is that? Do you feel it's more powerful?
I think it is powerful. I think women supporting other women.
And I think it's that mix of having one-to-one and group in whatever aspect of life like that. You've done a mix of one-to-one and group, and it's the power of them two things coming together. I do one-to-one and group mixed together.
Yeah, I think when someone comes into somewhere like a service, they often, you can't put them into a group. They're not ready. And so you do one-to-one, you do key working with them and that kind of thing. And as they get stronger, then they'll go. Because if you say to a woman that's vulnerable, go into this group, they'll run a mile. Of
course.
But
also the perpetrator might not let them either. If they're in an abusive relationship, the perpetrator's not going to put them somewhere they're going to get stronger, are they?
No, they often did this when they
Sly.
were like, no, not always sly. or social services, or
Right.
They
Okay.
have to,
like, they have
they're
to.
just about to lose their kids.
Yeah.
They have to, like, get the
Right.
help.
But you wouldn't put them in group. You'd put them in one-to-one, or if they didn't want one-to-one, because one-to-one's very different from key working. And you would work with these until they were ready, and then they would think their care plan. They would have a care plan, and they would their care plans would be reviewed, and then they would be encouraged by their key worker to do X, Y, and Z. So Coffee, Cake, and Chat was an open group. So you can imagine, here's stepping stones. Just opened up a childcare service in the centre of Luton. I was known in the profession because I'd worked in drugs and alcohol for a little while. So I knew professionals, and I needed to get out on the street.
Right.
I needed to bring the women in. So how was I going to do that? Coffee, Cake, and Chat.
And that was your initiative?
Oh, yes. So every Friday morning, 10 o'clock till 12 was Coffee, Cake, and Chat. And I vowed to keep going Coffee, Cake, and Chat, even if there was just one woman in it. And believe me, there was just one woman. Within weeks, we had many. Because the word on the street got out.
So they can come in, leave their kids.
They could come
and
in.
then have a group session.
Or even if they didn't have children, they could come in.
Yeah, of course.
Because a lot of them did, and a lot of them didn't. Come in, no questions asked, sit down, have a coffee, have some cake, and just be you. No questions, no heaviness, just women having some time that was confidential. What was said in that room stayed in that room.
Is it Chatham House rules?
Yeah, and just talk about anything. And then with that, what happened was loads came. And then they built trust. And I was thinking, this is for real. They really want to help me. And then they would be introduced, if they wanted to other forms of support, more structured, more catering for them, actually in delivering change, results driven. That's what they would do. So we started parenting after that. But all those other groups that I introduced and wrote and delivered, they were all closed groups. So once you started that group, those group of women that were in that group, no one could come in.
So that's like their protected safe space.
Yeah, because you couldn't start a 12-week program or a 6-week program and someone come in, 3 weeks, because we'd shared some, very confidential, hard stuff. So, and the only other group that was open and rolling was what you call the Freedom Program back in the day. And I think there's lots of other programs now that have come about, which was just domestic abuse, which is what is a perpetrator, basically. And I love that program. And that was rolling because we was talk about the Freedom Program.
And how did you keep it going? Because I don't really understand as CIC. I don't really know much about it.
How did I keep it going? So basically,
stress and funding.
Yeah, right.
So I started off with 20 grand.
Yeah.
And the childcare service took all of that.
And was it just you? Like you must have had
staff.
It
was just me. And then I had volunteers in the childcare service, and I had 2 employed staff. And I had just about enough money for that. But because I was known and women were coming and they knew we were delivering, I had probation fund me.
What's that?
So probation service, if you're
right.
under criminal service
and you're under
probation, they would send their women to us as part of their programs. So women would come if they were under probation.
And then you would get funding for that.
And they gave me some funding. And then I'll tell you a funny story. A year later, the commissioner, the Drug and Alcohol Commissioner.
And was that a Bedfordshire-based commissioner? Luton
based.
Okay.
She said to me that she wanted me to meet the commissioner, the parenting commissioner. So I said, okay. And I said to the church, because they were very dear friends of mine, without the church it wouldn't have happened. They're coming in, and I was running out of money. I don't think I had enough money to pay my staff at the end of the month, and I had to. Because I
And you?
I wasn't on payroll.
You weren't?
No, don't be silly.
Why?
This woman has never worked for money in her life.
I've never worked for money in my life. No.
We're very different.
It's important, but no. So it's not easy doing payroll when you're not on it. Anyway, so I didn't have enough money to pay my 2 members of staff. Everyone else was either voluntary or just me. We set up this meeting. And so I thought I'd better get a spreadsheet going. And so I had 2 spreadsheets. One spreadsheet was what I had to have to keep going for the next few months, the minimum.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
just to pay there. Yeah.
The rent, which wasn't hardly anything, and the 2 salaries. And then I had another spreadsheet that had, in an ideal world, me get paid. The other director, there was the silent director, get paid, employ more staff, this, that, and the other. And I'll tell you, he came in. I had to say why stepping stones was so important for the town of Lewin. And so we had all this spiel, we had all this, that, and the other. So he turns around to me and he says, so how much money do you need?
So you brought out the wish list spreadsheet?
I brought both out. And I brought both spreadsheets out and I said, well, it depends which one you want.
Yeah.
This is how much I need. This is how much I would love.
Yeah.
I got 100 grand right there and then.
And how much did you need?
Something like 20.
Oh.
So I got paid that month as well as everybody else. And then a year after that, we got the keys to our own building.
So did you start in the church intentionally?
Oh yeah,
that was your church, wasn't it?
Yeah. I went to the pastor and the pastor's wife, and with my vision, and I said I want to do this. Who else would take me on?
Anyone else?
This is what I want to do. I didn't even have a name for the charity then. This is what I want to do, and they supported me, and they gave me their downstairs hall every Tuesday and Friday to open up childcare. We had to transform it to an Ofsted registered childcare facility, and I was Ofsted inspected and everything. For 2 days a week, and then I went to him again and I said, I really want to start Coffee, Cake and Chat. Can I have one more room? And he gave me a room on a Friday morning, and then I was seeing women in cafes and on the street corner doing initial assessments. And then I said, I'd really like an office. So he gave me an office. And then I said, I really need another group room on this day. And I remember Alan West, a very dear friend of mine, he turns around and he said, Karen, you're taking over the church. And I said, I know.
But look how much good we're doing.
Yeah. And you know what? The women actually weren't put off for the fact that it was a church.
Well, it's a safe place, whether you're religious or not. It was a
real safe place. Yeah. It was real home. And then 2 years later, we were there for 2 years. 2 years later, I opened up Stepping Stones, which is the building.
But the building was like
huge,
incredible, like super empowering. Obviously a whole side for childcare.
Yeah.
All the women's rooms and stuff. It isn't just a building.
But going back
and you grew to how many staff?
18.
18 staff.
And the thing that's to link it in with you guys and your businesses, and anyone listening that's got a business. Sometimes you have a vision and you have the end result, but actually to get there, you don't know how you're going to get there. You just know what you want to do. Yeah. I think if you had all the awareness of the hurdles and the bumps in the road, you have the vision, but if you knew what that journey was going to be
Wouldn't do
like
it.
to get there, you wouldn't do it.
Absolutely.
You so wouldn't do it.
It'd be too hard. Why would you?
Yeah, you would run a mile. But what you do is, if that vision and that goal is that important, you just start on the journey and the doors open. And if the doors open, I'm very much a believer that you keep opening them.
If you haven't been on a business retreat, this is an absolute game changer for your business. I know so many people are so nervous about traveling on their own, being abroad, going on holiday, basically with a bunch of people that they don't know. But honestly, you will be so thankful that you made this move in your business. I host 2 business retreats twice a year, and they're all different places around the world. So go to kgbusinessmentor.com, press the retreat tab, and you'll see where we are going next in the world. Go and grab your space now.
Well, you are bold and you are like barging through them, aren't you?
What I'm saying is, those 2 years, were they rewarding? Yeah. Were they tough? My God, they were tough.
Yeah.
And I think that links in with any business. You know, we don't always have the whole thing set out, but we have that first step, and then you take, what is that saying where sometimes you don't see the whole staircase, you just see the first step. Yeah, the first step. And so that true. Is ultra. And I brought that kind of philosophy into Stepping Stones. When women thought it was hard, I believed for them. And I think Kate does that.
Yeah. There's so much alignment with you two.
When she's doing her coaching and stuff like that, what she's coaching, she's nurturing, she's encouraging people to make that next step in their business.
But giving them the safety blanket, I've got you. I'm here and I'm going to help you.
She's there at the end of the phone. She's there.
It's the same in franchise.
There with the business and the franchise. Yeah. You're there with them every step of the way. And I think you that's really important.
Absolutely. But that vision you had was massive, right?
No. They don't always see it or believe in it. But as a franchise owner and as a coach, you believe for them until they believe it.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of progression is so powerful. And that's why I love
purpose, isn't it?
Oh, you've got to have purpose the whole time to keep that drive going when things get hard, to know when to, not give up when the doors do keep closing, but you know that they need to keep open.
And to ask. To ask the questions like you asking your pastor, I need some more space, I want more, and I need this. For you to be, it's so brave to be going out speaking to these commissioners and saying, I need 100 grand, or this is what I really want.
Especially when that's not your background. Yeah, okay, you've done drug work and stuff, but you haven't had businesses before. You definitely hadn't opened up a community interest company. You hadn't then turned that into a charity. Like all of those things.
And I cried, and I would Google stuff.
And imagine if you had AI then.
Imagine now what you could do.
Yeah.
You can find out anything if you really want to. You just got to have that determination and that, not to give up. Other than going, I'd love to do this, but I don't know how.
It's like a tenacity and purpose cake mix, isn't it?
I'll tell you another funny story.
Come on then, tell us.
When I decided to hand the baton over, funding.
How long had you had it before you made that call?
10 odd years.
Yeah.
My funding was pulled really quickly. And I needed to find another. Funding is horrid unless you're really good at it and, studied it and stuff like that. It's not my forte.
Well, you've done all right.
I had God on my side, but I was frontline. I was frontline. Frontline delivery. I knew what a woman needed, and I was advocating them until I was no more. So anyway, I had funding from probation. I had funding from the council, and I got a call, and my funding was cut by 250,000 overnight. And I also knew at this time that I needed to hand the baton over, and mainly because I needed Stepping Stones to go to the next level, and I was done in. And it's about leaving a legacy and to continue. And I knew in a business way that needed someone more than me. So anyway, I needed to change it. So I needed to change it from a CIC to a charity to secure different type of funding. And so I started the process of changing it from a CIC to a charity, mainly just because of funding. And that was a battle in itself. And you know, you have to meet charity guidelines and all that kind of stuff. And I'll tell you a story. They wanted to know who the chief exec of the charity was. And I said it was me. And they wanted to know my credentials, who interviewed me, all that kind of stuff. And I said, but there was no one there to interview me.
No, but you set it up.
Yeah. It didn't make no difference. And I was leaving anyway. Madness. I was leaving anyway. And I said, well, it doesn't matter. But basically, if I had stayed, I would have had to be interviewed.
That's crazy.
For the job. I cried and cried over that.
Yeah.
Because
this is your brainchild. Like
and all of a sudden I had to make you set a charity up or a community interest up with nothing but passion and determination, and someone was asking my credentials. Like, it was tough.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, look, I got my breath together and I said on the phone, I'm leaving anyway. We're in the process of recruiting. And they said that they wanted evidence that I was recruiting. And so I sent them the evidence of the job application and the job spec and everything to them. Isn't that amazing? And the rest of charity commission rules for you. Well, I'd been doing this stuff all this time. Incredible.
And then you hired someone.
And then we hired, we recruited. You have a board of trustees. Although I had a committee group as a CIC too, I took it really seriously. I had a board that we met. And then...
how do you find those people? Were they just volunteers, or were they people that ran businesses?
Yeah, both.
Oh, wow.
And then when it was a charity board, we had to have different people on that board that had finance backgrounds and all that, because charities operate very differently. And then you bring people in.
And where do you find them people?
You actually advertise.
I do. And you have to pay them?
No.
Oh, because it's a charity or a CIC?
Yeah. And stuff like that. So, yeah, really, really interesting. I could write a...
You absolutely
could write a book.
You could write a book.
Just on...
You ever thought about that?
No.
No,
I could...
Amy, shush.
Yeah, no. So that's how it came about.
It's crazy, isn't it? Because when we're doing the retreats and stuff, and obviously, originally, when we first had done our first retreat a couple of years ago, I was like, oh, come, Mum, like, treat for Mum, come on every retreat I do. That was kind of like what I always wanted to do. And then all of a sudden, realising that they're so similar, obviously completely different audiences, but so similar. And then the first one, like, you enjoyed and like you was there and this and that. The second one was like, won't you take part and do a space for them? But then, and then obviously we're about to do our third one. But the learnings that we teach are so the same. Or she'll do come out with all this mindset stuff and journaling and all of this. And I was like, I don't think you've done any of that stuff. She's like, I've been teaching this for years. And I'm like, you never told me, but yet as a business owner, we do all these things and just didn't even know it was the same stuff. Or you'll come out with these different sessions and I'm like, oh my God, I love that. Where it works in business as well. It's so funny when we're coming up with what sessions we're going to do.
It's going back to that stage is keep treating people as a whole.
Yeah. It's that holistic approach. And that last retreat was so holistic.
Yeah.
It was so holistic.
You're not just a businesswoman, you're a woman.
Yeah.
You're a mum, you're a wife. And I don't think it's healthy to cut you off and kind of ignore those aspects of you because it's all of you that makes you Amy.
But it was fascinating to me. Like, when I listened to your story when we was in Marbella, and I think Kate was off doing her thing, and we were chatting about coffee cake and Marrakesh. Sorry, when we were chatting about coffee cake and chat and stuff, and then you were telling me about something. I was like, did you know that this is like the same? You're both so purpose driven.
Yeah, 100%. But that's why I think
you just
it makes
care so deeply.
Everything's about care and a purpose and a mission, and I generally feel that that's why we're different. Like, or why I'm different as a coach. I definitely know that's why I'm different as a coach.
Absolutely, because your souls are similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope I've instilled that into her.
And I think,
have you? Over the years, she was left school really young. I've been at the edge of the bed with Kate and brought her along as a mum. I remember her being homeschooled, and it wasn't enough. She was a good girl. She would go and do her lessons, but back in them days, it wasn't like homeschool now. And they told me that she wouldn't have been taught enough to do an exam. I was devastated, and stuff like that. And I remember saying to her, for her to go off and do this beauty course. It was literally, if you looked out of our bedroom windows, you could see the college.
Oh, Barnfield.
And she enrolled in this. I knew how petrified she was about doing this course.
Yeah.
And I could have easily taken her to the gate, but I didn't. And off she went and everything. And I remember, I can see her now, and she come back. I said, "You got this?" And she come back, and I said, "How was your day?" And she broke down in tears, and she said, "You don't know how hard that was." I said, "Yeah, I do. I actually really do. But you cannot stay here. You got to pick yourself up, and you've got to get out there, and you've got to go for it."
You know why I feel so emotional about that? It's so special.
I know. This is the second time I've cried on podcast. But I think for context of people that don't know, because there's loads of people that won't know any of the background, is the fact that I left school at 13, bullied, was going to obviously have no qualifications because after leaving school, I had to still obviously be in education legally. So then they helped me get some homeschooling. But then obviously, like Mum, Karen said, you can't, you're not going to pass any exams. So then they said that I could go into either school, but a year below, wasn't it? A year lower, which obviously was never going to happen. Or I could go into college a year early or a couple of years early. So when I went into college, I was the youngest and obviously had come from a bullying background. So that was like...
You must have been so scared.
Freaking out. But I never thought I would do beauty. We'd done it to cure that gap. If I have to go to education.
Oh, you liked it.
I liked it, but I never was like, one day I'm going to be a beautician. No. It was level 1.
Well, yeah, because you could do that before 16, couldn't you?
So it was level 1, and I was modelling at the time, which saved my life alongside Mum. But who would have ever knew that from that college course I would have gone and had salons? Mental.
I also remember her coming home from college one day, and I was in the garden. And she said, "Mum, I'm going to do this business course." I was like, "Okay, what business course is this?" She said, "There's a poster in college, and you pay 30 quid or something, and you can do this business course. It's just one evening, Mum." She was so young, I can't even, 15. So I said, "Okay," and she paid with her own money and everything, and she did this business course. She was the youngest in it. But that's how
it went every Saturday morning. That's what it was. It was every Saturday morning for like 6 weeks. And I just I don't know how much it was. I just wanted, and it was full of men in suits. And that was me, this kid that just would go along every Saturday morning.
It's incredible.
It is the Godfrey soul is running through all of you, you know? And then to Lola as well.
I hope so. I hope so. She's definitely
she's going to be an entrepreneur, and she's a little firecracker. She's going to do great things.
Yeah, she is. She is.
So it's interesting, but we don't often. When we first sat down on the sofa, you said you went to Goldman Sachs, and you said that there was a whole load of other business people there, and you just realised at the end of it, this isn't how you said it, but basically how you weren't doing too bad.
Yeah.
You weren't doing
I've got a chain of salons, so I don't think I'm doing too bad.
But my point is, when you're in it, whatever business you're in it, when you're in it, you're just driving that wheel.
I'm not looking out at anybody else. I'm not seeing anybody else. I'm just seeing my own figures. And I felt like a very small fish in a very big pond at Goldman Sachs. By the end, I was like, oh no, I'm actually where I belong.
But my point to that is, women, maybe men.
I don't think
I'm a woman, so I'm going to.
I don't think men have the same experience.
At the end of the day, when you're driven, and you are, when you work really hard, that you do, a business owner, and you've got this aspiration, and you're running businesses, you're like a hamster in a wheel, and you're going and going and going, and then you get your highs and your lows, and you're juggling all these balls and all that kind of stuff. But we don't stop to think. And women are not very good at praising themselves.
No, because I'm so looking forward.
Yeah, you're so looking. You don't stop to think of, actually, I'm doing all right. And I'm doing all right. And okay, there's still some curves and some bumps in the road, because that's just life. Yeah. But I'm doing all right. And I just want to encourage you to keep looking at how far you've come, babe, because and everyone else is listening, because we don't do that enough.
Why do you always make me cry, Karen?
Because there's one thing I am good at.
Making me cry?
Yeah, you're the hard cookie as well. I'm the crier. You're not.
Really? I'm
yeah.
Shit. What are you talking about?
We just don't. I mean, I think about stepping stones, and I still follow certain things that are very close to my heart, but I'm far removed from that life now.
Do you miss it?
Some part, I miss the women.
Yeah, I bet.
And
now you're with my women.
Yeah, but do you get a little bit of a kick from that now that you're still helping? Sorry, I've changed your train of thought, but
I just love women coming together and supporting
powerful,
other women. And if I can help in any way and do me odd little story, I'm happy. But you know, there's women every day walking into salons. They're having a hard day.
Oh yeah.
There's you don't have to be in a drug agency or a women's service to support and look after or just encourage another woman. Yeah. You're meeting it every day. And I think if you're doing it in any form, you're doing it. Yeah. And that's what's important.
You're so lovely.
Oh, I love you too. Oh. So
yeah. I'm so chuffed. When I heard about Coffee, Cake and Chat and when you were doing it, and then I found out your story, I just thought it was so magical. It felt like fairy dust.
Yeah.
You know, when you're like, oh my God, was that an intention? Was that an intentional thing? Have you done all of your coaching? It's so aligned with your mum and what she done and her story. Or has it just happened organically?
It definitely happened organically, but I've also been around it so much.
Yeah, but that level of empathy is so unusual.
I mean, I've been there when you've gone to a woman's house in need in the middle of the night and I've come with you. I've been there when someone's overdosed and unfortunately passed away. Like, we've been there going to visit people in certain homes or like not knowing if they're going to be alive when we open the door. Yeah. Like, I don't know why I'm getting upset now.
Oh. Yeah. It's tough, isn't it?
Life's not easy. Life is tough.
Yeah.
And
it's cruel. It can be cruel.
Or you stand up and fight. And I'm a believer that you can stand up and fight because I believe in people's lives. Yeah. And stuff like that. And and I'm really proud of my daughter because she's done incredibly well. I remember back in the day, I'm going to tell the story.
Oh God, what one?
She was really young. She was really young and she was desperate to have her business. And there was a boutique in Luton that was really beautiful boutique, and it was up for sale.
Like a shop boutique or salon.
Yeah, really beautiful.
Fashion shops.
But it was high-end. and it was high end and it was up for sale. Mum, can we buy that shop? I'd love to buy it. It's got all my nice clothes in it. And we went to see the accountants, which is probably why she's a bit funny with accountants.
I don't, other than my CFO and a couple, don't like accountants.
Yeah.
You know,
They're not risk takers.
They're not, and they also make you feel a bit stupid sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, they can
So we
be.
went along to see our accountant, and he completely said that.
Pull me apart.
Yeah.
Did
He completely said that this wasn't a viable business, bless. And I come out and I said, well, you've got to listen to this. Oh, he just doesn't want us to have it. And she was being a typical teenager.
Because I was a teenager.
Because she was a teenager.
I was so young.
It is
15,
so funny that you're
15.
dragging your mum to an accountant
to buy a business at 15.
Yes. And then so she got over that. And then she found another one. And this was a beauty business and it was a franchise. And I can't remember the name of it.
Sands. Do you remember them?
No.
Oh, they've obviously gone under now, but they were a big franchise beauty chain.
I really
And look
How
up,
weird
look
is
them
that?
up.
I will do.
So she come up to me again and she goes, Mum,
It's in Milton Keynes.
there's a business, we can have it. Can we go? So we drove all the way to Milton Keynes. And we went in and it looked all very lovely and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, Kate, I'm not feeling it. But why, Mummy? Why? And all that. And I turned around to her and I said, look, I wanted to rescue her. I wanted to give her what she wanted. But I knew it was a mistake. And I said to her then, Kate, you would have to get it in my name because you're too young. I'm not really feeling it. And actually, when you're ready to do this, when you're really ready to get a business, you're going to do it under your own banner, in your own time, not because I'm having to sign whatever. I said, trust me on this, man. You will get there, but it's not now and it's not with your mum. And I feel the same way as her going to Dubai. Everyone keeps saying to me, she's going to Dubai, now this is going to kill me. But she's got to do her thing. And so, yes, and she did eventually, under her own wings, spread her own
As soon
wings.
as you turn 18, get a lease.
The second I turned 18, I opened the business. 19, I got the lease. Yeah,
But she was doing business.
and then got my
before
own franchise rather than buying Sands, which is great.
Yeah, look up
I
Sands.
will
You'll
do.
find that interesting. It was in Milton Keynes, and it was all very lovely. But she needed to spread her own wings.
It's great advice. It's great advice to do it on your own, sign in your own terms.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because who knows what would have happened, but you've always been there for me. But it was like always trying to direct me in the way that you feel that I should have been directed. Because a lot of parents, especially if they've left school, no qualifications, especially with you, your education was so important for you. Like I always remember like sitting down and you making me do my homework or doing this bloody English like lesson with you in holidays. I'd be like, Mum, it's holidays, give me a break. And I was dyslexic as well, so you're telling me to say there, where, there, and all this, and I'm like, I can't even read it. But your education was so strong on you, so I think a lot of parents might have been like, yeah, we'll get her that business because what else is she going to do?
Yeah.
Like, and try to rescue me that way, and you didn't.
no, I know. But going back to stepping stones and my daughter and stuff like that, you know, you can facilitate change. You can't do the change. So I facilitated change within Stepping Stone. I can't do it for Kate, but I can help her and encourage her to do the best, be the best version of her and stuff like that. And I'm a risk taker. I don't take risks anymore. I'm too old in the tooth and I'm too tired. And Stepping Stones, I had to take so many risks.
It's exhausting, isn't it?
That unless it's written in the sky,
I think
I'm
you do
not
get
doing
to a
it.
point where you're like, I'm done with risks now.
You're just a bit scared. Do you know what I mean? But I've always been a risk taker. Her dad's not a risk taker. I've got 2 children. One's a risk taker and wants to, you know, always wanted her own business and be her own boss and all that kind of stuff and will take the risk. I've got a son that likes to know what he's earning at the end of the week. One's not right or wrong.
No, it's just
you
them.
just got to be who you are, and you've got to encourage them in whoever they are and whatever they want to do. And I think that's the best advice for a parent to a child, and stuff like that. I remember her dad going, "I don't think this is a good idea." He would never have done it if I hadn't supported him with the salon, opening the salon and stuff like that. I say, what's the worst can happen? She'd get bankrupt at 19.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world. Do you know what I mean? I cannot put a bucket of water on her dream. All I can do is be there and go, "You got this, Kate. You got this, Kate. You can got this. I'm proud of you." And that's all I could ever do. I'm a biggest fan. I'm my biggest critic, but all you can do is support and love them and just say, "Yeah, you got this, and I'm proud of you." So that's, and I think she'll do the same with Brody and Lola.
Absolutely,
and it breaks my heart that she struggles with the schooling system with Lola. Situation not her fault. She knows firsthand.
And I think that's it's tricky, isn't it? Because you know what she feels like.
I think it's difficult when you've got a child in school that struggles and you also have a not very good relationship with school, because straight away you want to rescue them out of school.
Yeah.
So it's quite quick for me to homeschool her, forget school, that type of thing. But saying that, it depends on the child, because I can already see Brody is going to be a completely different child, and I'm so excited for his education in Dubai. If he was going to school in the UK, I might be feeling still quite different about that. I think I'd possibly homeschool him. Yeah, but I think for there, I'm excited to see that. But I can see he's going to be that type of child, so I want to push him.
He'll enjoy it.
Yeah, whereas I'm not going to do that with Lola. She's not made that way, and I'm quite accepting of that. And I'll push her in the ways where I feel that she will grow there. Why push education on her when I know it's not her?
No, it's
every kid's different.
They're so different.
We're all unique. You know what? And we need to be who we are, who we were created to be,
and not try and
anybody
be
else. Oh my goodness, it's hard enough being me. I wouldn't want to be anyone else, or try to be someone else. I'm okay just being me. That's hard to juggle. I don't know how long we got left.
What do you want to say?
No, it depends how long we got
It's
left.
okay, go for it.
I just want to do one thing that I hope you don't mind me doing.
Oh, God. Are you going to make me cry again?
No. But because we're talking about stepping stones, I do have to do the friendship bag.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So basically, I was given this by my church in a women's group.
Right.
And I had it at home.
You're going to love this.
Am I going to cry?
I thought just one time, early days of Stepping Stones, coffee cake chat.
Yeah.
I didn't have an office, and I just put this in my handbag, and I thought, I just might need this one day. And
that's the actual one?
Yes. I was in the coffee cake and chat, and there was a couple of women there, and not many. It was the very early days, and this woman was really struggling, and no matter what I said, there was just nothing, no spark behind her eyes, no nothing. It was really difficult. And it took courage, and I thought, should I go down in my bag and get that thing out? So I turned around to this lady, and then I says to her, just a minute, I'm just going to get something. And I come back with this, and I said to her, I just want to give you this. I want to show you this. And if it means nothing, then great. And if it does, then it will be worth it. The only difference between back then and now, I've actually got the Stepping Stones one in there. So I think that's all there is. That might be a tea bag. And I haven't got my glasses, so I might not be able to see. So you need to hold the bag.
Yeah.
And so, Amy, this is the friendship bag. can't see. Can
Do you want me to read it out?
read it out? And I'll pass it to
Okay,
you.
plaster. To help a friend who needs mending. Why am I getting upset?
Yeah, because it's so lovely.
Tissue. To dry the tears of a friend who is hurting. Rubber. Because everyone makes mistakes and that's okay. Button. To remind us to button up before we say an unkind word. Rubber band. To bind us together in friendship. Mint. Because a friend is worth a mint. Paper
Mint
clip.
is in money. No,
Worth a mint. Paper clip. To gather all those loose ends. Sugar bag. Because sugar bag. Because friendship makes life sweet. Tea bag for when you need to talk.
And that was our friendship bag.
That is so beautiful.
And when I gave that to this particular woman, she was a different woman after it. And it was so moving that I turned around and I said, I can't give you this one, but I will. I might have had a duplicate, actually. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. I said, you have it. And I gave her the bag. From that day, everyone that walked into Stepping Stones for the very first time was given a friendship bag. And it's those little things that count.
That would have meant the world to so many people.
Yeah.
And just linking back in yet again, which I haven't even really, well, obviously we've done this, but not because I knew that story. I hosted World Lash University, which is obviously a massive event that we used to do. There was like hundreds of people that would come. We'd do a conference in the day. We'd do awards at night. And it was like this big thing in the lash world. Loads of you would have come. And we used to always support a charity, and it would always be Stepping Stones, and we'd raise money for Stepping Stones on the day and night. But I think it was our second one we done. And in the goodie bags that obviously all the suppliers and stuff used to give for the goodie bags, Stepping Stones done the friendship bags, and everyone that come to World Lash University had a friendship bag. And even, I've only just literally realised, even that is all linked. How crazy is that?
It's
Just
it
all meant to
became
be.
from that one time, and I was nervous giving her it, and I thought, shall I get it? I don't want her to throw it in my face. And I thought, no, I'm going to do it. And then hundreds went out. But sometimes
Is it a trust thing, do you think, that made people feel seen, cared for, trusted?
That I matter.
Mm.
I care about you, Ray.
Mm.
I'm giving you this, and I'm going,
And
whatever
you
you're
matter.
going through, I'm here. I believe you.
Yeah.
It don't matter.
So powerful, isn't it?
Really powerful.
Mm.
So people, whether they're in a drug agency or not, everybody
It's just
needs
human,
a friend.
right?
Everybody, how have we talked in the last few years? It doesn't cost much to be kind to, celebrities in doorstep, blah, blah, blah. But no matter who we are or where we walk, we all have tough times.
Mm.
We all, have times where we're struggling and stuff like that. And sometimes we just need to know that there's someone there for us. And vulnerable women even more so. And like I said, they were the strongest people that I know. And when they got strong, when another woman come in that wasn't so strong, they would lift them up. And there's a lot of power in that.
Mm.
You can do anything if you've got someone.
Oh my God,
back.
you can achieve anything with your village.
If someone's got your back,
yeah,
you can
we've
do all
created our
sorts.
own, really, aren't we?
100%.
And it's small and mighty.
Yes, we always say that. A small mighty group.
It's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you want to come to a retreat and meet the OG,
Please.
I think that's what we need, a badge, OGKG.
yeah, because do you know what? It always feels like, oh, you bring your mum.
Oh,
no,
God,
it's
no.
so much more
She's
than
the
that.
powerhouse.
Like,
Sorry, Kate.
me, mate, Katie.
It is like, yeah, Kate, you're doing great. Let's talk to Karen.
Oh, bless. No,
Yeah.
thanks for letting me come on. It's a real privilege. I remember the first day you started it.
Oh, I know. Isn't that crazy? Like,
and now we've got our little dream team.
we have.
We are a dream team. I love you so much.
I love you.
Aw.
And you.
Aw. Tag us of how many people cried in this episode,
Oh my
or was
God.
it just us? No,
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Mum. I love you loads.
Anyone listening to this, you're having a bad day? Hang in there. You can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hasn't she just done amazing for her first ever podcast and hates being on camera?
I think she's going to
Like,
get
what?
invited to loads from this.
I reckon
Someone's going to work.
you're
We
gonna-
need Karen on radio. We need do you remember in the newspaper columns, you used to have the Dear Deirdre?
Yeah.
Dear KG.
She hides, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Way too much.
I don't think she hides. I think she lets you shine.
That's my girl.
Oh.
See?
Right,
There we go.
we're going to
On that
end
note.
that on that note. Ciao, Bellas.